from Kosovo, to take them to concentration camps in Albania. The immigrants who are Serbs have to be killed, end of quotation. Reminding you of the statement made by the Albanian Prime Minister, a famous historian says that from the beginning of the war, April 1941 to August 42, killed 10,000 Serbs and expelled hundreds of thousands of people. A similar number of Albanians moved from Albania to Kosovo. Herman Neubacher, special envoy of the Third Reich to Southeastern Europe, wrote in 1943, in the autumn, the Albanians have hurried to expel as many Serbs as possible from the country. When General Nedic bitterly complained to me, I urgently recommended to the Albanian government to stop the persecution. When I saw that my intervention did not produce any results, I asked to resign from my mission in Albania. And this was written by a man authorized by the Third Reich, a Nazi, and he was horrified by this.
Iguman Makarije, 3. aprila
Priest Makari on the 3rd of April 1968 wrote to Serbian Patriarch German. Because the Yugoslav authorities after World War II concealed the persecution of the Serbs from the public, especially the public outside of Kosovo. He says the Albanians are again showing their historic hatred towards the Serbs. We are in a difficult situation, more difficult than during Austria and Turkey. Violence is an everyday occurrence. Thefts in the middle of the day, insults. You probably hear from others what is going on with Serbs from Kosmet. The Department for Internal Affairs in the province in 1966 says in high schools, gymnasiums, and teacher training colleges, nationalism is legally being taught to the youth. Enemy activity is growing, and there are more and more activities like this. Physical attacks against Serb and Montenegrins in order to expel them are also happening. And there are publicly hostile speeches being made in public places. Russian Balkans experts, Professor Yelena Guskova, in her book, The History of the Yugoslav Crisis from 1990 to 2000, on page 444, says, demonstrations in the province are followed by diversion or acts of sabotage in factories, dispersion of flyers in order to turn the province into an ethnically clear territory. The chauvinists are using all sorts of methods, including the threat of physical exterminations of Serbs and Montenegrins. They've been burning Orthodox monuments, houses, taking others' land by force, and limiting freedom of movement. The consequence of that is the mass departure of Serbian families from this area. From out of 1,451 settled places in 1981, there were no Serbs except in 6 of them. There were only 216 Serbs left there. During the 10 years in this place, there was Albanian terrorism in play, which was very hard to suppress. During these 10 years, less than 10% of Serbs remained in the territory, end of quote of the Russian professor. So the term ethnic cleansing, ethnically clean, began to be used for the first time and appeared in relation to these events. And your witness here, Slovenian professor of law, of constitutional law, Ivan Krista, in an article entitled "The Constitutional Position of Autonomous Provinces in the SFRY," which was published in 1981, and I note in 1981, says, and I'm quoting from this article of his, "The Albanian nationalist concept of an ethnically clean or pure state of Kosovo and the unification of all Albanians into one territory violates all of the objectives achieved after World War II. Instead of equality of peoples and ethnicities, they are encouraging them to check their numbers all the time, and they are engendering chauvinism." This is cited by the Slovenian professor here who testified here, and he said this in 1981. I continue to quote him. "Against other peoples and nationalities, pressures are being exerted, and there are chauvinist excesses which go as far as to make the members of certain ethnic groups move out. This has been going on for a while in Kosovo, from where a considerable number of Serbs and Montenegrins have moved out, so that according to the census of 1981, in comparison to the one from 1970, there are much fewer members of these two ethnicities than before." I end my quote here.
Before you continue, we're going to take a break now for 20 minutes, and we will sit with the cooperation of the interpreters until 2 p.m. So we're adjourned for 20 minutes.
All right, s'il vous plaît. Please be seated.
Please continue, Mr. Milosevic.
Sude Robinson, ja insistiram da mi ipak
Judge Robinson, I insist that you allocate some time for me for tomorrow.
We'll consider that near to the end of today's session.
Dobro.
Very well. Kristan, and I'm repeating, this is an article by a witness of yours from 1981 who points to the crucial link between the Greater Albanian fascist movement from World War II, the so-called Balists, with the separatist Albanian movement of the 80s. The same movement, the same participant, which at the end of the 20th century, and especially intensely from 1988, grew into overt terrorism with secessionist motives, and by terrorist means and in cooperation with the aggressors' troops from 19 NATO countries, finally ethnically cleansed of Serbs and other nationalities this birthplace of Serbian culture. This link and the continuity of Greater Albanian fascists from World War II, Kristan says in the cited article, the follows: "The irredentist aspirations of Albanian nationalists in Kosovo are not recent. They actually appear as an extension of various Quisling and fascist organizations." Greater Albanian aspirations and territorial pretensions of Albania are not dead and gone, and they date back from World War II, together with their German and Italian Nazis and fascists. We see by the conduct coming from Albania and Kosovo and Metohija, the General Secretary of the Albanian Communist Party, and that Hoxha, thus in a letter to the Central Committee of the Soviet Communist Party in 1949, relying on the conflict of Yugoslavia with Stalin at the time,